The lights were so bright that night, I could barely see the faces in the crowd. My hands were shaking as I stood behind the microphone, waiting for my name to be called. My heart was beating fast, not because I was scared, but because I remembered every night that led me here, every laugh, every insult, every time I was told I was wasting my life. Then I saw them. My family was sitting in the second row. My mother, my brother, my sister. They weren't smiling. They weren't whispering. They were silent, shocked, confused, almost frozen. And in that moment, I thought to myself, if only you knew how many nights you mocked me to get here. The host finally said my name. Please welcome, Emily Carter. The room filled with applause. I stepped forward, took a deep breath, and smiled. Not a proud smile, a calm one, the kind that comes after years of pain. My name is Emily Carter. I'm 28 years old. And this moment was built in the dark, while everyone in my own house slept peacefully and laughed at my dreams. As I looked at the crowd, my mind drifted back to those late nights. The house was always quiet after midnight. Everyone asleep. Lights off. But in my room, my laptop was open, my eyes burning, my heart racing with hope and fear mixed together. I wasn't partying. I wasn't wasting time. I was building something. Something I believed in, even when no one else did. But my family didn't see it that way. To them, I was just the girl who stayed up too late. The girl who didn't live in the real world. The girl who needed to grow up. I still remember my brother Mark standing in the kitchen one morning, laughing as he looked at my tired face. Another late night, Emily. He said, "What are you now?" A fake businesswoman. My sister Sophie would giggle and add, "She thinks sleep is optional when you're chasing fake dreams." Even my mother Linda would shake her head and sigh. "You can't build a future staying up all night," she told me. "Normal people sleep, Emily." I laughed with them. Or at least, I pretended to. But inside, every word cut deep. Every joke made me feel smaller. Every look made me question myself. Still, I kept going. Because deep down, something inside me whispered, one day, they will stop laughing. Standing on that stage now, with my name glowing behind me on a giant screen, I finally understood something. Those late nights, they mocked. They were never wasted. They were planting something, and tonight that something had finally grown. But to understand why this moment felt like revenge, you need to know how badly they doubted me. So let me take you back to the night everything almost broke me. Living with my family always felt like walking on a thin line. On the surface, we looked normal. We ate dinner together. We talked about small things. We laughed sometimes. But underneath, I always felt like the odd one out. Like I didn't quite fit into the life they wanted for me. My mother, Linda, believed in one kind of success. A safe job. Fixed hours. No risks. No dreams that sounded too big. She often said she worried about me, but her worry felt heavy. Like a chain around my chest, my brother Mark was the loudest voice in the house. He was older, confident, and sure that his way was the right way. He worked a normal job and never missed a chance to remind me that I didn't. To him, I was childish, unrealistic, a joke. My sister Sophie followed his lead. She was younger, always on her phone, always watching. She laughed when Mark laughed. She mocked when Mark mocked. Sometimes her words hurt even more. Because I wished she would understand me. Every night was the same. After dinner, they would go to the living room. The TV would be loud. Laughter would fill the house. Then, one by one, they would go to bed. Doors closing. Lights off. Silence. That was when my day truly began. I would sit on my bed with my laptop, the soft glow lighting up the room. My eyes were tired, but my mind was awake. I researched. I learned. I planned. I failed. I tried again. Sometimes I didn't even know if what I was doing would work, but I felt alive doing it around 1 or 2 in the morning. I would hear footsteps, my door would open slowly, and Mark would lean against the frame, smiling like he already knew the joke. "You're still up?" he said one night, shaking his head. "You know, this isn't going anywhere, right?" I swallowed and said nothing. Another time, my mother stood there with crossed arms. "Emily, this isn't healthy," she said. "You're ruining your sleep for nothing." For nothing. Those words stayed with me. They echoed in my head long after she closed the door. At breakfast, Sophie would point at my dark circles and laugh. "You look terrible," she said. "All that hard work for what exactly?" Everyone laughed. I laughed too. But my hands were shaking under the table. There were nights I closed my laptop and stared at the wall, asking myself if they were right. Nights when I felt stupid for believing in something no one else could see. Nights when I almost gave up just so the house could be quiet again. But every time I thought about quitting, another thought came right after. If I stop now, they win, so I kept going, quietly, secretly, with tears in my eyes and hope in my heart. I didn't know it then, but those nights of doubt, those moments of mockery were shaping me. They were teaching me how to stand alone, and soon, very soon, my family would push me to a breaking point they never expected. There came a night when I made a mistake. A mistake that still hurts when I think about it. I let my guard down. I believed just for a moment that maybe my family deserved to know the truth. We were sitting at the dinner table, plates half full. The room smelled like food and comfort, but my chest felt tight. My heart was beating fast. I had rehearsed the words in my head all day. "I've been working on something," said softly. They all looked at me. Mark raised an eyebrow. Sophie stopped scrolling on her phone. My mother leaned back in her chair, already tired. "What kind of something?" my mother asked. I took a deep breath. My hands were shaking, but I kept going. I explained it in simple words. Not the full dream, just enough. I told them about the idea, the planning, the late nights. I told them I was serious, that it wasn't just a phase. For a few seconds, there was silence. Then Mark laughed. Not a small laugh. A loud one. The kind that fills the room and makes everyone else join in. "That's it?" he said. "That's what you're losing sleep over." Sophie laughed too. "Wow, Emily," she said. "You really think this is special?" My mother sighed. "I don't want you getting hurt," she said. "You should stop before you embarrass yourself." I felt my face burn. My throat tightened. I wanted to disappear, but that wasn't even the worst part. A few days later, we had relatives over. A family dinner. The house was loud, full of voices and jokes. I stayed quiet, sitting at the corner of the table. Then I heard my name. Mark was standing, holding a drink, smiling like he was about to tell a funny story. "So Emily has this new idea," he said loudly. "She thinks she's going to build something big by staying up all night." Everyone laughed. He repeated my idea, but twisted it. Made it sound silly, unreal, like a joke meant for entertainment. I looked at my mother. She avoided my eyes. I looked at Sophie. She was recording on her phone, smiling. That night, she posted a short video. A joke about late-night dreams and people who think sleep is optional. She didn't say my name. She didn't have to. Everyone knew my phone buzzed with messages, laughing emojis, comments, questions. I locked myself in my room and cried. I cried until my chest hurt, until my head felt empty. I stared at my laptop, still open on my desk, and thought, what am I doing? Why am I fighting alone? For the first time, I closed the laptop without saving my work. I lay on my bed in the dark, feeling broken, humiliated, small. That was the night something inside me cracked, not into pieces. Into clarity. I realized they weren't going to understand. Not now, maybe not ever. And waiting for their approval was slowly destroying me. So I made a quiet decision. Lying there with tears on my pillow, I would never explain myself again. I would never defend my dreams with words. From that night on, I chose silence. And in that silence, I began to change. After that night, something shifted inside me. I didn't argue anymore. I didn't explain. I didn't even react. The girl who once tried to make them understand slowly disappeared, and they noticed at breakfast. Mark would make a joke, waiting for my response. I stayed quiet. Sophie would tease me, hoping for a reaction. I just smiled and kept eating. My mother would ask, "Are you still doing that thing?" I answered calmly, "I'm fine." They thought I had finally given up in a way. I let them believe that, but behind my closed door, the late nights continued, only now they felt heavier. I worked in silence, with no one to talk to, no one to celebrate small wins with. Some nights, my laptop screen blurred because my eyes were filled with tears. Other nights, my hands shook from exhaustion. There were moments I wanted to scream, tell them how hard I was trying, but I didn't, because this time I wasn't working to prove anything to them. I was working to save myself. There were setbacks. Big ones. Emails that never got replies. Plans that failed. Money I barely had slipping away faster than I expected. I remember one night sitting on the floor of my room, my back against the bed, staring at my laptop. Everything felt wrong. I whispered to myself, maybe they were right. That thought scared me more than failure, so I stood up, took a deep breath, and opened my laptop again. Little by little, things began to change. A message came in from someone interested. Then another. A small opportunity turned into a serious conversation. I didn't celebrate. I didn't tell anyone. I just kept going. Weeks passed. Then months. My family still mocked my early nights when I went to bed before midnight to wake up early for meetings they knew nothing about. They laughed at how quiet I had become, but silence was my shield now. One evening, an email arrived that made my heart stop. The subject line was simple. Launch confirmation. I read it 3 times to make sure it was real. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't smile. I just sat there, feeling something I had never felt before. Control. That was when the idea formed in my mind. If they loved laughing in public, then they could watch in public too. I planned everything carefully, legally, cleanly, calmly. A real launch, a real event. My name, my work. My story? I sent invitations to everyone who mattered, including my family. No explanation. No details. Mark laughed when he saw the invitation. "What is this?" he asked. "Another one of your things?" I smiled softly. "Just come," I said. That night, as I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my heart raced. Not from fear, from knowing that soon the truth would speak louder than I ever could, and they would finally see what my silence had been building. The night of the launch arrived quietly, almost like any other night I had lived through. But inside me, everything was loud. My heart wouldn't slow down. My hands felt cold. As I got dressed, I looked at myself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. She looked calm, strong, but behind her eyes were years of sleepless nights and silent tears. When I arrived at the venue, the room was already glowing. Lights hung from the ceiling. Chairs were lined up perfectly. A large screen stood behind the stage with a black cover over it. My name was hidden. My work was hidden, just like it had always been until now. I stayed backstage for a moment, breathing slowly, reminding myself why I was there. Not for revenge filled with anger, not to hurt anyone, but to finally stop hiding. Then they walked in. I saw my family enter together. Mark was laughing, looking around like he didn't belong there. "Why are there so many people?" he asked, half joking. Sophie was filming on her phone again, whispering, "This is weird." My mother looked nervous. She adjusted her jacket and scanned the room, confused and uncomfortable. None of them looked at me. They didn't know I was already there. The event began. The host spoke. Music played softly. People listened. And then the lights dimmed. "Tonight," the host said, "we are here to celebrate the launch of a vision built in silence." My heart nearly stopped. The screen behind the stage turned on. My name appeared in large letters. Emily Carter. I heard gasps. I heard whispers. I watched my family's faces from backstage. Mark's smile vanished. Sophie slowly lowered her phone. My mother's eyes widened, her mouth slightly open. The host continued. A project built through late nights, doubt, and perseverance. That was my cue. I walked onto the stage. For a second, the room felt unreal. The lights were blinding. The applause was loud. But all I could see were the 3 people who once told me I was wasting my time. I stood behind the microphone and took a breath. This project, I said. My voice steady was built during nights I was told to go to sleep. Nights I was laughed at. Nights I was doubted. I paused, but I stayed awake anyway. Silence filled the room. Not an awkward silence. A powerful one. I didn't look angry. I didn't sound bitter. I simply spoke the truth. I talked about the journey, the failures, the belief I had to find within myself when no one else believed in me. I never pointed fingers. I didn't need to. The truth was standing right there with me. When I finished, the room erupted in applause. I saw tears in my mother's eyes. Sophie looked down, ashamed. Mark couldn't look at me at all. In that moment, I didn't feel victory the way I imagined. I didn't feel pride the way movies show it. I felt peace because I finally understood something. Deep in my bones, the best revenge isn't proving people wrong with words. It's letting them watch you rise. In complete silence. After the event ended, the room slowly emptied. People hugged me. They congratulated me. They told me how inspiring my story was. I smiled, thanked them, and tried to stay present. But my mind was somewhere else. I was waiting for the moment I had imagined for so long. When I finally stepped outside, the night air felt cool against my skin. My family was standing near the entrance, quiet, unsure. For once, no one was laughing. My mother was the first to speak. "Emily," she said softly, her voice trembling. I didn't know. I looked at her face. She looked smaller than I remembered. Tired, human, I know. I replied. Mark shifted his weight, hands in his pockets. He didn't look confident anymore. "I was wrong," he said, staring at the ground. "I shouldn't have made fun of you." Sophie's eyes were red. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I thought it was just a joke." For a moment, I felt all the old pain rise up again. The nights I cried. The shame. The loneliness. I could have said so much. I could have reminded them of every hurtful word. But I didn't. Not because they didn't deserve it, but because I no longer needed it. "I forgive you," I said calmly. But I also learned something important. They looked at me, waiting. I learned that my dreams don't need permission. I continued. And my hard work doesn't need approval. There was silence again. This time it felt different. We said goodbye shortly after. No big hugs. No dramatic ending. Just understanding that something had changed forever. That night, when I got home, I sat alone in my room. The same room where I once cried myself to sleep. The same desk where I almost quit. I opened my laptop and stared at the screen. And for the first time, I didn't feel tired. I realized something important. The real victory wasn't the launch. It wasn't the applause. It wasn't watching my family realize they were wrong. The real victory was becoming someone. Its clue didn't break when no one believed in her. If you're listening to this right now, and someone is mocking your late nights, your quiet efforts, your dreams they can't understand, let me tell you something. Let them laugh. Let them doubt. Just don't stop. Work in silence. Grow in patience. Protect your vision, because one day you won't need to explain yourself. They'll see it, and when they do, the peace you feel will be stronger than any revenge. If this story touched you, take a moment to like this video. Subscribe if you believe in quiet strength and real growth. And share your story in the comments. I read them and I see you. Sometimes the most powerful response to doubt is success spoken softly